got some watchers. What's that? Who is doing that? Blair?
There's people upstairs.
It's Blair.
I got happy feet.
We're
What
good
can I
now.
say?
Drumming.
I just discovered that it has an echo, so
We're live.
Oh, this kid play.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody out to our Tuesday, March 8th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. Welcome all the, I want to, my brain just skipped a total beat.
Welcome.
Welcome. All of our Planning Commission members are present with the exception of Mr. Anderson, Commissioner Anderson. He has an obligation this evening, so he is not with us. And he's excused. Public comment, we don't have any public, so seeing there is none, we'll go to presentations and reports.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
You're
Sorry.
fine.
I'll give just a condensed version of what I shared in the work session. On your upcoming meeting, we have 3 items. One will be review and make a recommendation to the City Council on a annexation request, which ironically the video we watched just talked about that. Part of that I didn't get into it as much, but I will note that it is a recommendation more so in the nature of zoning, that when it is annexed in, what the zoning should be, and staff will assist with that. So you can anticipate that to be part of your packet information. The general plan, just so you know, does indicate, I'm trying to think what the term is, special use district light industrial business park, which is pretty much light manufacturing or M1 zone. So that's going to likely be the recommendation. But and then the other 2 items are the conditional use permit request for Mavericks fuel price digital sign and the preliminary subdivision submittal for what they're calling Hillside at Riverdale subdivision. So those are forthcoming. And then I noted J-Dogs is still coming to community in the building where Starbucks is. They're on 300 and Riverdale Road. And then we have an RDA board meeting next Tuesday night with the City Council. And that's relative to the West Bench RDA area and some decisions that will need to be discussed relative to that. And then the decision coming out of this meeting will be on that agenda with the City Council next Tuesday night, as well as will be the certified petition from our city recorder with the council. So I think that's everything long and short I reported on the presentations and reports upstairs. And with that, I'll defer back to the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haggett. Consent items, consideration of meeting minutes from February 8th, 2022 work session and the February 8th, 2022 regular meeting.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the minutes.
1 second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Action items, commission voting consideration to select planning commission chair member and vice chair member. So we'll open up the
Nominations, and then, yeah, and if there's discussion as part of the nominations, you could welcome that as well.
open up for nominations and then any discussions. I'd like to nominate Kathy Eskelson
For the chair, right?
for the chair.
I second it. Can you do that?
I think you just. Sorry. I just think if a name's out there, then that puts them on as a voting opportunity, and then if there are any other nominations, that would be in order. That's what I would
Any
say.
other nominations?
Seeing none, you'd close the nominations if there's no more.
Veterans?
I'll nominate myself, I guess.
Okay. Kathy and Rob have been nominated.
I'll second Rob.
I don't know that you need a second, but at any rate, are there any other nominations? Do both the individuals being nominated, would you accept that nomination?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I think at that point you can close the floor on the nominations unless there's any other discussion from the planning commission.
So do we have to say we,
Hang on, we'll
Aye.
close, do you want to not, or,
no, do we have to say we want to close the election?
So the chair will then close the nominations and then move into the election period. Yeah.
so I'll close the nominations and then, we'll move into elections.
So then at that point, I would take one name that was declared, ask for a roll call vote. Each individual only have one vote, and then ask the other name and roll call vote. Again, there has to be 4 voting members in order to ratify the decision.
Okay.
So you
And
have
am I allowed to vote?
Yes, you are. Everybody's allowed to vote. So Commissioner Wingfield and Commissioner Eskelson are both on the table. If there's a tie for whatever reason, then there has to be a revote until there isn't a tie, and that's where you will have discussion prior to taking a revote. So it's kind of a democratic persuasive opportunity if it's split down the middle. Okay.
Okay. All right, let's take a vote. Just go down the,
Take the first nomination, request a vote, voice. So she'll do a roll call, and then do the second nomination, take a roll call, and at that point, we'll see where things fall.
okay, so let's do a nomination, the vote for Kathy.
Commissioner Nye,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson, he's not here. Spires,
Aye.
Commissioner Eskelson,
Aye.
Commissioner Herman,
Aye.
Commissioner Wingfield,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Nay.
Okay.
So at that point, that's the name would be advanced based on the voting.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry, Rob.
It doesn't matter to me.
And then you do the same now for vice chair with that result.
Okay. All right, so Kathy Eskelson moves forward to be ratified next week as our chair. Now we'll open up the floor for vice chair
Nominations.
vice chair nominations.
I'd like to nominate Rick Herman.
Okay,
Anybody got a second?
I'd like to nominate, I'd like to nominate
Well, I
Rob.
Taking a drink.
Do you both accept the nominations that have been provided?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Any other nominations? I would recommend then closing the floor for nominations unless there's any discussion.
You need some gum.
What?
You need some gum. Let's close
I make a nomination, we close the nominations.
yeah. Hey, Michelle.
And now, obviously, yeah, we'll move forward with the voting.
That's what I meant.
So we're
Yeah.
voting this time for
Vice chair.
Vice
vice
chair.
chair.
The nominees are Commissioner Herman and Commissioner Wingfield.
Okay.
So again, which one do you want to go with first, Chair Spires?
We'll go with Commissioner
Wingfield.
Wingfield. Oh, sorry, guys.
Okay. Commissioner Spires,
Aye.
Commissioner Eskelson,
Aye.
Commissioner Herman,
Aye.
Commissioner Wingfield,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Nye.
Aye. That's pretty easy.
That was a quick turn of events.
There you go. We have
Okay.
2 nominations that would be moving forward.
So,
And I would just ask for any discussions if there's any discussions after the vote. That's just a fair and appropriate.
any discussions from any of you on moving on our voting? And you okay, Kathy?
Uh-huh.
He's a good wingman.
Wingfield.
Oh, that's not what I said. He's an excellent wingman.
Thought he was the Robinator.
And he always seems to support you too. He's always here. So you will do well. You will
He's
do
known me for
well.
years.
Well, and Kathy, I think you'll be excellent for the design review committee and a lot of those things.
That will be a key responsibility of the chair is design review committee. Kind of, it's an ad hoc committee. You'll have notice at least a week before. once ratified, so be ready for that. That is something that we request. But if you can't make it, then you defer to the vice chair. The vice chair can make it. And if neither can make it, then you would ask a planning commission member who is available to fill that role.
How often is that?
It's infrequent, maybe once every 6 weeks, but that doesn't mean you might not have 2 or 3 at a time too, and then nothing for months. It's
Yeah.
kind of infrequent.
I think we've had 3 since I started in June, so
Okay.
4.
Just as buildings go up and,
As a design review, okay.
but I think
I will have definite things to add to that. Or to suggest.
So, and we can talk, once it's ratified, we'll definitely need to talk about kind of how the design review committee works and stuff, so you'll have to be brought up to speed with that,
It's
okay?
easy.
it's easy.
Thank you.
You'll enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy it. It will add to, it will definitely.
I'm trying to think what other responsibility, anyway, we can talk offline.
Pretty boring, but
We can talk offline
thought they were
more.
boring.
Yeah. Do we have any other discussion?
I as staff I don't think I have anything other than what I noted in the work session. So we are in the middle of budget session, like was noted. The only thing I will say, there are still some significant financial challenges the city's trying to grapple with. May lead to some other. I don't know what level of tough decisions yet, because we're not quite there. But there are definitely some needs and some growing pains in the community that we'll be grappling with that will affect budget for the city overall in the next coming years. So that, unfortunately, the banner call is still not resolved. So just heads up there going into 2030. And I guess this is something I haven't even brought up, but I should. Legislative session ended Friday night at midnight. There are quite a large number of bills that will affect the city fiscally and also affect land use. One of which is the housing bill that's previously been approved was modified. Not necessarily bad. It's going to put a lot more responsibility on me and any other staff members to put together a more comprehensive report of where moderate income opportunities are being created in the city. We're not even quite sure to what extent that reporting will be required, but it's going to be pretty extensive and intensive. So I may report on that in the future, since the data is going to be presented anyway to the Planning Commission, so you're aware of where that is. The other thing is RDAs per House Bill 151 have been significantly curtailed in their ability to be utilized as a tool for cities. So going forward, I would suspect a lot of cities will not be utilizing RDAs as frequently to benefit commercial development and retail development in their communities, which, read into that what you will, but you may see some very different development patterns in cities statewide as a result of that. So just kind of a heads up there.
what happened on that? They were talking about the change in the tax, sales tax.
The city with the franchise, or
Well, we're getting like 51% or something right now.
oh yeah. The split. Thank goodness no one brought that up this session. The 50-50 based on population. Yeah. That doesn't mean that that's a dead discussion either at the state level. But again, it's one more year where that didn't come up. This year's big one was pretty much all but take away any authority or power of an RDA to work. I hate to say it that way, but that's what it feels like. It almost eliminates the city's ability to use an RDA as a tool to grow economic development opportunities in the community and increase housing requirements and housing opportunities and increase access to housing opportunities around transit-oriented areas within the community. Those are like the really big land use discussions and pushes.
What did they do to change the RDA?
So basically what it comes down to is you can't use RDA monies for any structure over, it's like 3,000 square feet. You have to use 50% of the funds to benefit moderate income housing. The housing has to show a 50% component of moderate income housing in order to qualify, and you can only use it for, I think, roadway infrastructure and or parking garages for the site. So really, they've become almost an obsolete tool at that point of value. Because I don't know that very many cities or governmental organizations will opt into RDAs as a result of those decisions, which I think that was the sponsor's intent, is what it feels like. Yeah. So,
Hey, Mike.
Trying to increase the low-income housing, or
it's to curtail cities from utilizing zoning that favors retail over housing opportunities, is what it feels like. So it's to force, encourage, and motivate local governments into not zoning for commercial retail opportunities as much as maybe essential housing opportunities. That's what it feels like. So that's really how it feels. I mean, we all know that there are housing needs, but as you've seen, ironically, there can be balance. I mean, we're talking about a project down here that we're not getting in front of. We're not stopping, and we're not trying to make it difficult for 700 units of every kind of housing opportunity. Mm-hmm. And part of that discussion that we're going to have when we go back to the table with them is just requesting even 5% of those units be moderate income and low to moderate income housing rent rates. Right? That's what we're going to talk about with them as part of that re-engagement. So you take 5% of 700, that's only 35 units, right? So even if we can get 35 units of low to moderate income housing, we feel like we're doing our part. But the legislators on Capitol Hill making these decisions don't see that. They just see or don't see the numbers that they think are coming out of communities. So that's reality versus, which is why the reporting tool that's coming out of House Bill 462, which is that one that talks about cities reporting annually. But that's why that's so crucial, because right now there's a reporting element, but it doesn't really capture the hard data to show exactly what cities are saying. Hey, we've heard you loud and clear, legislature, over the last 3 or 4 years. We're trying to do what you've said, but you're not getting it. You're not seeing the facts that we're doing it. Well, hopefully with the new reporting requirements, there'll be enough data, enough information so that they can see it and stop some of these behaviors and creating these bills that are full on assault on city decision-making, land use decisions. What it feels like. So there's a disconnect somewhere is what it comes down to.
we're running out of land anyway.
We'll see. Well, but then you say that, but then look at all the reuse we're seeing too, right? I mean, look what happened with Best Buy. Look what happened with the car dealership. I mean, that's kind of the new standard in a lot of cities. A lot of reuse is going on. And a lot of reuse is
Yeah,
turning
but I
into,
mean, as far as for residential.
but a lot of reuse is turning into multifamily housing too in a lot of communities. We just haven't quite seen that yet, but it's coming, I think.
I could see it in some places, but
Yeah.
where the old Best Buy was.
Yeah, closer to more commercial retail areas, right? Yeah.
There's not, we're running out of land.
Anyway, I don't mean to digress, but I'll give you a full legislative update down the road as we get a little bit more that's pertinent to land use specifically. We may have to modify some codes a little bit here and there, just like in the video said, kind of tinker with some things to meet state standards as I get a better feel of which ones will be impacted. But so heads up on those two things. I probably should have reported on that earlier, but I'm still coming out of shock because it was a pretty painful 6 weeks. And I was right in the middle of it, front and center for both the city council and the planning commission and in my responsibilities. So anyway, yeah. So that's it. That's what I have to report.
Hey, Mike, quick question, and it has not been brought up in a while. What's the status of the roundabout down at 1050 Ritter Drive?
It's fully funded. My understanding is that project's supposed to commence sometime this year. I don't know exactly when.
Great.
Yeah. So there you go. And I still think your preliminary application for the subdivision development of Motorview Drive is forthcoming. Probably, I don't know exactly a time frame, but within the next maybe month to 2 months, I suspect we'll see an application.
So no drive-in this,
Nope. So that's it. That's all.
anybody else?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.